Hey there, my name's Curtis Lucas and you're watching Empire Building. So right off the top, I just wanted to congratulate all those holders of Marathon patent stock. Marathon had a phenomenal day with 23.5% gains, bringing the stock to $11.50 at the close, finally surpassing the stock price of Riot Blockchain. Almost a full month ago, I published my first video covering these stocks, and the very first thing I talked about was the misalignment in the valuations between Mara and Riot based on their planned hash rate capacity. At the time I made that video, Mara had closed at $3.39, whereas Riot had closed at $6, almost twice that of Mara. And as I mentioned, today Mara closed at $11.50 versus Riot, which closed at $11.04. But here's the thing, the gap still hasn't closed. Mara's market cap is $731.8 million versus Riot at $745.5 million. Mara has still just a little way to go to fully catch up to Riot. And these two are going to continue this song and dance until the cows come home. Sometimes Mara will have the premium, sometimes Riot will have the premium. These two are direct, fierce competitors. As of the time I'm recording this, Mara has announced plans to expand their hash rate to a total of 3.56 equihash per second. And literally, just as I was preparing to do this video, Riot released a press release announcing that they had purchased yet another 15,000 S19 Pro Antminers from Bitmain. This would bring their total installed hash rate to 3.8 equihash per second, narrowly beating out Mara yet again. However, Riot has yet to announce a location for these miners to be installed. Their intention is to install them at the CoinMint facility, but as I've discussed in prior videos, that is not yet established as a certainty. But with the recent capital raise that they have made, they shouldn't really have too much difficulty finding a competitive facility where they can install these miners when they do arrive in the middle of next year. The main reason why I chose to move out of Riot and into Mara in the first place was because it became clear to me that Mara had become grossly undervalued by comparison. All the same, both of these stocks should be at least double what they are now. And that only reflects a Bitcoin price sub $20,000. And yes, I have leveled criticism against Riot based on my findings surrounding the agreement that they made with CoinMint. I still think that that is an unmitigated risk that you have to acknowledge. But at least you're not adding to that an overvaluation compared to its peers. Long term, the score between the two is about equal. One will continue to up the other, and they're both standing on about even footing, so long as Riot can find a home for these miners that they've already committed to purchase. But I'm confident they'll figure that out. But all this talk of stock price and market cap brings me to a very important point that I need to make, because I see over and over and over again, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, just about every other YouTuber out there that covers these stocks tends to hone in on their all-time high back at the end of 2017, early 2018, with laser focus. And I'm here to tell you, it's all BS. It's meaningless. You cannot compare the stock price today with that of 2017 and 2018. It's just irrelevant. All that matters is market cap. And in terms of market cap, we blew through those highs a long time ago. We're in full price discovery mode now. However, unfortunately, the majority of the people who invest in these stocks, and obviously who also cover these stocks, seem to think that those old prices still have some sort of bearing. So psychologically, there will be anxiety when we finally do reach those prices again. But make no mistake, even with the metrics as they exist today, would take us well beyond those old all-time highs. But as a number, they don't mean a thing. Because these stocks move the way they do, they tend to attract a lot of attention when they move. And there are tons of traders out there that just want to hop on for the ride. They haven't had the slightest clue what they do, why they do it, how they make money. In fact, as of any report that's been released to date, they haven't made any money. And I'm going to do a further in-depth look at both these stocks to try to forecast what their first quarter profit might look like compared to what the street is actually projecting they'll achieve. This first earnings beat will send these stocks into the stratosphere. Unfortunately, this won't come until the early part of 2021. But really, as I've said many times before, that will only be the beginning anyway. So just strap in and enjoy the ride. Having said that, remember, not investment advice. Do your own research and make sure you understand why you're in these positions. I've said it before, these stocks tend to misbehave, and they will continue to do so because there's so many emotional participants who will misbehave. It has nothing to do with the fundamentals. It only has to do with herd mentality. People buy it because it's going up. The best metric that we're going to have to try to navigate this, if you plan on trading between one and the other, which I see nothing wrong with whatsoever, and I have obviously done it, and given another opportunity, I'll do it again. But I can guarantee that the people now buying Mara are only doing so because they think there's something fundamentally different about the company to explain why it has overtaken Riot so quickly. That momentum will continue. It's hard to tell how far and how long it will continue, but one indicator that you could turn to is Google Trends, where you just compare Mara stock and Riot stock as search terms, and the results will be quite telling. Both are approaching new highs, but you can see that Mara has been accelerating much faster in terms of search traffic. I expect Mara will exceed Riot for some time before we be due for another correction. With Riot trading at a discount, I would definitely feel a lot more comfortable trimming back some of my Mara position and reallocating it back into Riot. But for me, this would happen slowly. And certainly if we found Mara worth twice the market cap of Riot, this would provide us with yet another grand slam opportunity. I don't consider this as risky as trying to time the market because you're still in this market. You're just reallocating your investment into the best value you can get at that time. I know there are many other stocks out there, and I've really been focusing on these two simply because they are the most popular. But I have already begun researching several other companies, and each one will get its own video in due time. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't so much matter where you are allocated within these companies. Hut 8 has had a massive run, and that one got away from me. But instead, I was in Hive, which has also had an incredible run. So my point is, speculation in all of these stocks will drive them at incredible rates. You're not going to always pick the number one runner, but I will continue to share with you how I'm evaluating these companies so that when an opportunity does arise and I find it, I'll make sure to bring it to your attention. So for the time being, I do expect Mara will continue to outperform Riot. And again, it has nothing to do with one company being better than the other. It has only to do with the herd following the leader. And obviously, the most incredible part about today was the crypto markets, including Bitcoin, were actually down. Yet we still realized gains over 23%. This is what I mean when I say they misbehave. And trying to time these, even against Bitcoin, during its minor fluctuations, up or down, can still leave you on the wrong side of that trade. Because the reality is, these stocks are still hilariously undervalued. People just haven't realized how to do the math on them, but it's very predictable. Analysts have just started to cover these. And as they raise in value, more and more will start to pour in and report on these things. They'll start to tell their friends about them. Institutions will start to arrive. None of that has happened yet. So if you're worried you missed out, this party is just barely getting started. I'll cover more of that very soon as well. because the institutions are really going to be key players in the year to come. Many of you may have already heard the exchange between Elon Musk and Michael Saylor, and who knows if that will yield anything at all, but this conversation will continue. And with the rollout of more and more stimulus and the expansion of the money supply, these large corporations with massive amounts of cash on their balance sheet will start to look at that as a liability. And Bitcoin is going to start to look like not such a bad idea. And the liquidity in this market will continue to rise. Eventually, people will start to look for alternatives in the space. And that will lead them to blockchain mining companies. Because here's the story. Everyone else will be buying Bitcoin for $20, $30, $40, $50,000. Meanwhile, Mara and Riot will be able to mine Bitcoin for less than $5,000. And you may be asking yourself, well, can't anybody do that? All they need is cheap electricity. Sure. And the most efficient miners available on the market. And as we can see, even Mara and Riot, ordering them today, takes nearly a year to fully deploy them. By the time anyone else clues into this, there won't be a miner around to be had. This is why being an early mover is so paramount. And this is the value that they will provide. These companies will produce extraordinarily high free cash flow with profit margins through the roof. Wall Street would have never seen anything like it. That will be the story. And all speculative stocks need a good story. It'll be exciting to see what other unexpected stories could pop out of this. But I think you can see it is very clear that we are still in the early stages of what's about to come. So I just wanted to congratulate all you shareholders out there that managed to hold on through all of this. I know you're probably itching, looking at these gains and just imagining all the things you want to buy with it. My advice is to make sure you practice the art of delayed gratification. And before you go ahead and splurge on some expensive toy that you've got floating around in your mind, there's nothing wrong with wanting a Lambo if that's what you're into, but make sure that you have assets that can afford to pay for that Lambo first. But hey, that's just me. I'm an empire builder. And for any of you who are return viewers and haven't yet subscribed, I hope I've earned your subscription. And if you wouldn't mind giving that like button just a little tap, it'll help build this empire. And I hope to see you again in the next one. That's all this time. Now let's get back to empire building. Bye.